Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, if you're finding saving incredibly difficult, you're not at fault there, it's actually your brain. And how about if you could trick your brain into saving more regularly and actually making it easy? So I'm going to go through the 11 top tips that I use personally that has helped me save along the way, but they're really easy tweaks and you can trick your brain into saving every day. The first tip is to name your savings goals. So you may have heard of sinking funds, which is essentially where people put different pots of money into different bank accounts. But if you name them a certain thing, like let's say your dream house as one bucket of money, or your dream holiday to South America, if you give them specific names, it triggers something in your brain to be like, hey, I want to go to South America on this cool trip, or hey, I want to save for my dream house. So if you make it very specific, you are more likely to pop any bit of extra money you have into these pots of money. So number 2, make saving a game. You can, of course, do these 52-week challenges where you save £1 every day. And of course we can save £1, man, that's so easy. But you can also do like no spend weeks or no spend weekends where you can still hang out with friends, but maybe they come around to your flat and you have a movie night. Instead of spending £100 each on a bottomless brunch, you could maybe spend £20 here and still have all the same food and drink, right? But save that remainder of a difference of £80. So there's still ways to live your life and have the crack and have fun, but you're saving a chunk of money there. You could also do the £1 challenge for this month. So every day of the month you save £1. So at the end of the month, of course, you'll have about £30. So when you start to think about, hey, if you start with small amounts and increase over time, you are more likely to see it as pretty easy to start saving money. So number 3 is to pay yourself first. So if you get your salary at the very first of the month, okay, you should set up an automatic payment of a set amount of money into a separate savings account. Because if you leave your money in your current account, you're of course going to be tempted to just spend all that money, right? If you've got a few grand in there, it'll really likely disappear. But be actionable about it, okay? If you get £3,000 every month, let's say we try and start with £300, which is 10% of your monthly income, and you save automatically £300 into a separate savings account every month. And if you feel like, hey, I've got a bit of wiggle room here, I could save 400, of course you can up it as time goes on. But if you pay yourself first and make it automatic, you don't even have to think about it because you've got that direct debit set up there every month to pay yourself, aka your future self. Number 4 is to visualize your future wealth. So I do this a lot, this visualization technique, right? If I'm in the bath or the shower or something, I will sometimes think about what it would be like to live in a cool New York loft, right? That is my dream, right? So if I think about that regularly, it will switch on something in my brain that would be like, yes, hell yeah, I want to get to that point. How am I going to get there? It will start to make you question, how can I afford these things? You know, what could I do in terms of career to like boost my salary? Could I get a second income coming in, like a YouTube channel, for example? You know, what kind of things can I do to achieve that wealth? And this also reinforces something called delayed gratification. So if I'm thinking in my head, hey, I would love to live in a loft one day, I am less likely to spend money on frivolous things because I want to save as much money as I can to achieve that dream. The next tip is to trick your brain with smaller increments. So instead of having this big looming thing of, oh my God, I need to save 20 grand to put down a deposit for a house, right? You can start by saving £5 this week. Make it small and actionable. And then when you're able to tick it off, it will of course release dopamine into your body and be like, oh, hey, I've been able to actually achieve this damn thing and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was. So if you're starting from zero, don't worry. You can of course get there. But if you start with smaller ones and not worry too much about the big goal, it will become a lot easier for you. So number 6 is to create a spending firewall. And what I mean by this is to actually put your money into a separate bank account or a separate high yield savings account. Because if you open up your banking app every other week or whatever, and you see that pot of money is in there, even if it's in a separate savings account, you are more likely to maybe feel tempted to take some money out. So for example, for me, I have Nationwide and I also have Chase. So my Chase is where I'm saving and that's where my big pots of money are, right? Big pots of money, yeah, right? And then Nationwide is my current personal account, and I also have sinking funds in there also, such as maintenance for my flat or such as if I want to go for a holiday, that kind of thing, right? But I have it in a separate high yield savings account, so I don't look at it that often, so I know it's going to be building in the background and not feel tempted to take money out. Ambulance. So number 7 is to associate your savings with instant gratification. So let's say you've just reached your first £1,000 milestone in saving. That's amazing, right? Even if your actual goal is 20 grand, that's still something to celebrate that you've reached £1,000. So you can celebrate by maybe having a lovely, self-care bath for yourself. It's really important to celebrate the wins along the way and not just when you reach the big goal. So number 8 is to use loss aversion as your advantage. So we hate when we're losing out even more as to when we're gaining, which is hilarious, right? But if you think of it and reframe your mind, but I know if I have compound interest on my side and I keep, regularly saving, it's going to help me out when I'm like 50, 60, and if I want to retire early, right? So it's going to reduce and I'm going to lose out on stress there, which is a great thing because I'm starting right now. So even if you're starting from zero, guys, compound interest is always going to be there on your side when you're younger. So the younger you are, the more likely you will build up a massive money. So let's say, for example, you invest £200 every month into something like an S&P 500. And if you're age 20 right now, this is how much you would have when you're 60 years of age, okay? However, if you wait until you're 30 and then save £200 every month, this is how much you'll have when you're 60. And the majority of this is because of interest has grown over that time. So of course, the younger you start, the better it is for you. But it's okay if you're still in your 30s because hey, I'm 34 and I only got into investing when I was in my early 30s. So don't worry, there's always time. But if you know the tricks around compound interest and to lean into that, you'll be better off. So number 9 is to set your default to always save. So if you get a promotion at work, for example, and you are going to receive an extra £500 every month in your salary, of course, automatically save that difference. If you fall into lifestyle inflation, which is if you get a higher salary, you tend to spend more and buy more stuff you don't need, right? You start to fall into that keeping up with the Joneses mentality. But if you always have a save default in your brain, that if you get a bonus or if you get more money, to maybe try and live as you were living before and save the remainder. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. You could maybe save 60% or 50% of that extra income that has come into your hands. But if you start to think differently about the money that you receive, it will massively help with your savings pot of money, I guarantee it. So number 10 is bundle saving with daily habits. So let's say every time you go into the office, you buy a Costa coffee. Did I say that right? You buy a coffee to bring into work with you, right? How about you save £1 every time you do that? So if you're doing that throughout the month, you start to save £1 every time you have a coffee. And the more times you have coffee, the more times you save. So it's like an automatic thing that you will start to do. And hey, maybe you shouldn't be spending so much on coffee, but it might make you rethink that, hey, it's almost like an extra £1 charge that you put on yourself for doing these daily tasks. And yes, you can still enjoy coffee. I love going to a cafe. I probably spend about £100 a month just sitting in a cafe, drinking a cup of tea, either reading or sketching or just doing YouTube stuff, right? So it's all right, of course, to enjoy those kind of things. But if you attach something like saving £1 every time you spend on a coffee, it will train your brain into using your money in a different way. And number 11 is to turn saving into a social activity. So how about you talk to your friends or even your family to say, hey, I've got this goal of saving 20 grand in the next 2 years. Why don't you come along with the journey with me? So you have like this companion buddy along the way and they can start to save as well. And you can kind of track and see how everyone's getting on. It's not about comparing yourself to other people, but it's about making it fun and more of a game and like a social aspect. People find saving money or investing money so terrifying, but if they have someone else like a partner or a friend doing it alongside them, or even just boosting them up, it will massively help you out. So which of these tips do you guys currently do, and do you have any others that you use that can trick your brain and help all of us to save more money? I tend to post 2 videos a week, guys, so if you're interested in getting more money into your pockets, hopefully you can subscribe and it'll help the channel out. But thanks guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye!